Hola a todos, bienvenidos, aunque sea de forma virtual, a Varsovia. Aquí se va a celebrar hoy el GFN, el Global Forum on Nicotine, el mayor congreso internacional sobre nicotina, en el que se habla especialmente del cigarrillo electrónico, un altísimo tanto por ciento. Además, ayer, en este edificio tan grandote que veis por aquí detrás, tuvimos el placer de acudir a la premiere de A Billion Lies, la película de Aaron Beaver, de la que ya os fui contando por las redes sociales, colgué bastantes fotos, y hoy aquí vamos a intentar charlar con los doctores, científicos, activistas, en fin, mucha gente interesante por aquí, lo más relevante del panorama vaporil. Y bueno, pues yo, como siempre, cámara en mano a la caza de entrevistas y espero que resulte un vídeo muy interesante. Esto se hace aquí enfrente, tengo el Marriott delante, el Hotel Marriott, y no me enrollo más, vamos para adentro.
Hola a todos, soy Carmen Scriggs, para los que no me conozcáis soy la coordinadora internacional de MOVE, Medical Organization Supporting Vaping and Electronic Cigarettes. Hemos venido este año al Global Forum on Nicotine con la idea de realizar un vídeo, un documento gráfico para poder expresar todo lo que se está moviendo alrededor de la nicotina y específicamente alrededor del cigarrillo electrónico en cuanto a política, ciencia y activismo. Y queremos que utilicéis este documento en todos los países hispanohablantes principalmente, para que se lo hagáis llegar a los gobiernos, para que se lo hagáis llegar a los propios vapers, a los fumadores, a todo el mundo. Tiene que tener una difusión máxima, porque es muy importante que tanto en los países europeos como España, en que todavía no tenemos una transposición clara de la directiva europea, o para todos los países de Sudamérica, que algunos tienen prohibido el cigarrillo electrónico, sabiendo, muchos de nosotros, como sabemos, muchos que somos doctores, médicos, profesionales de la salud, que el cigarrillo electrónico es realmente una herramienta de reducción de daños con un potencial enorme para la salud pública. Queremos poner este granito de arena este año para conseguir que este documento llegue a la mayor cantidad de gente posible y a los gobiernos, principalmente de Sudamérica, para que se den cuenta de toda la ciencia que hay alrededor del cigarrillo electrónico y lo importante que es que realicen unas regulaciones que se adapten y maximicen el tremendo potencial de salud pública que tiene este producto. Espero que disfrutéis del documento y bienvenidos al GFN.
E-cigarettes have the potential to save lives, but many governments get worried about these new products and don't know how they should best react. We see some governments around the world who banned e-cigarettes or banned nicotine, or sometimes in countries these products are already banned under existing legislation. The advice that I think countries should follow is that the interest in e-cigarettes and the market in e-cigarettes is going to increase. Some countries where they are banned, then you have an illegal market in e-cigarettes. For example, in Australia, nicotine is illegal to possess unless it's prescribed, and the fine for the possession of nicotine is the same as the fine for the illegal possession of heroin, and that is plainly daft. What you need is the right kind of regulations and standards to get good quality products on the market which assure consumer safety, and regulations which deal with things like advertising, because these products need to be advertised, but there needs to be a regulated regulations for the advertising. And if you regulate and if you introduce standards, then you've got good quality products. If you ban or try to get rid of these products, you have no control at all. You end up with a black market in products of very variable quality. nearly all of the issues about e-cigarettes can be dealt with by regulations, by voluntary regulations and by standards. You know, the quality of the product, who they can be sold to, advice to consumers and so on and so forth. So we don't need cumbersome laws in place, but we need good regulations and good standards.
My name is Dr. Christopher Russell. I am a behavioural psychologist. I work at the Centre for Substance Use Research in Glasgow, Scotland. I conduct research with long-term vapers who have been successful in quitting smoking by using an e-cigarette. And the nature of our work is to elicit from what we can from these successful vapers information and advice about how they manage to quit smoking by using an e-cigarette, so that we can then pass that information and advice onto the next group of smokers who are curious about e-cigarettes. They're cautious about trying an e-cigarette for the first time, but ultimately they're thinking about using an e-cigarette as a way of quitting smoking, but before they do, they want to hear the stories and experiences firsthand from people who have already been through the process of quitting smoking by using an e-cigarette. So we thought a great way to do this, to get information from vapers to smokers about vaping, would be to invite people from all across the world to make short videos to upload to our YouTube channel, which is called Vapers Helping Smokers to Quit. And basically the channel is pretty simple. It's a source of information for smokers. They can come here and watch little videos from real people who have quit smoking by vaping, and they can get information and practical advice about what it's like to vape. And hopefully by watching these videos, people who were undecided about vaping, or not sure if it's for them, not sure if it's safe to do, or not sure if it's something that would fit into their way of life. Hopefully by watching these videos, people will give greater thought to using an e-cigarette as a way of quitting smoking. And that really is our hope, is that by connecting vapers with smokers, we hope to turn one quitter into two. And then the more vapers who go on and tell other smokers about e-cigarettes and the benefits of using e-cigarettes, great. We hope that more and more smokers will think about using an e-cigarette as a way of quitting smoking, and ultimately add years to their life. And that's fundamentally what it's all about.
What the vapers should do in every country worldwide is just follow the major WHO declaration, which is take matters of their health on their own hands. It means that they need to engage or even initiate a dialogue with the local government, regulatory and lawmaking authorities, because it is their fundamental right as consumers to be able to use a product that has significant benefits in their health through substituting tobacco cigarette smoking. So I think they have to be honest, productive and active. So I think that even in countries where there is no dialogue at all, they should take the initiative to start this dialogue, and they should be actively involved, because that's basically a human right, and they have to defend this right.
We've got to be trying to make e-cigs available to absolutely everybody that needs them, and that doesn't matter who they are or how old they are. We need worldwide acceptance of e-cigs as being the ultimate in harm reduction when it comes to tobacco harm. We've got to make them available to everybody. Governments worldwide need to embrace them, promote them and enhance them for users in all of their countries. What we need to do is oppose every ban and every restriction that exists for e-cigs throughout the world. It's that simple. Everybody needs to stand up and say e-cigs are a good thing, they will save lives, and that's just got to be accepted.
What I would recommend both to vapers, users, but also to governments in many countries where they still are not sure of the importance of vaping to reduce disease and death from tobacco. A very important point is to hear what the vapers have to say, but also to take a moment, like we did in France, for example, recently. We had a vaping summit, and we invited all stakeholders to come to that meeting and to talk to each other. There were associations that were basically in favor of e-cigarettes, but other associations which were more reluctant about e-cigarettes. In the end of the day, we had a consensus, and actually many points were well taken by everybody. And the main result of these discussions was the creation of a working group at the Ministry of Health in France that will help to transition the implementation of the TPD, of the European directive. So I think this is the way forward for many countries, and I would encourage all the vapers association to try to convene such conferences in their own country, to invite the Ministry of Health, the government, and all the NGOs, all the associations that are stakeholders in this, and to organize a real discussion, open the dialogue, and talk to each other. That would be my recommendation.
Well, when we speak of the coils are made of metal. The usual coil is made of nickel, chromium, and iron. When it is in contact with e-liquid in normal standard situation, the metals don't react with the components of e-liquid. Of course, if you overheat the coil, it becomes red, and then it can release some metal, but this will result in so-called dry puff. So every vapor will almost instantly know that something bad happened. So I wouldn't be very concerned about metals inhaled by the vapors.
Hola mi amigos, my name is Aaron Biebert from A Billion Lives, and we are here in Warsaw at the Global Forum on Nicotine. Just had our European premiere, went really well. There was people from I think around 50 countries there, so it went very well. We're very excited about our new A Billion Lives Español page. We are working hard to reach the people all over the world in Spanish-speaking countries that a lot of those have really bad rules and are not very helpful for people trying to quit smoking. We're excited to bring the truth to all Spanish-speaking nations, and so we're really excited to have all kinds of new friends, and would encourage you to share the trailer that we put out that has Spanish subtitles. And yeah, let's make a loud noise so that we can make a lot of change in around the world. So we yeah, stay tuned. Lots of good updates. Go to abillionlives.com and you can sign up for email updates, and we will see you soon.
So, my advice to smokers is if you are struggling to quit or you don't want to quit using nicotine, try vaping. The Royal College of Physicians in Britain says it's unlikely to exceed the risks of smoking, 5% of the risks of smoking, so it's very, very much safer than smoking. It's a good thing to try. It'd be good for your health, and yet you don't have to give up nicotine, you don't have to give up the rituals of smoking. My advice for vapors: if vaping or vapor products are banned in your country, keep doing it. Your health matters more. Become politically active. You have to explain to the government, explain to politicians that you're doing something that is very beneficial to you. It's reducing your risk of cancer, it's reducing your risk of heart disease, and it's immoral and unethical for them to stop you doing that when they're allowing cigarettes to be available absolutely everywhere. It's completely absurd. There's no reason why these products shouldn't be available, as they are in Europe and many other countries, regulated, controlled, taxed, whatever, but they definitely shouldn't be banned. And my advice to governments is you've got to start seeing vaping and e-cigarettes as an opportunity, not a threat. This is a way that people who find it hard to quit smoking or don't want to quit smoking, this is a way that they can use nicotine without getting ill. It doesn't cost anything. It's happening through the marketplace, it's happening through consumers, businesses. There's no taxpayers having to pay money for it. There's no health system resources required. It's a cheap and easy way of getting off smoking. The trick is not to get in the way with prohibitions, with excessive regulation. And remember, if you're a government that's committed to tobacco control, if you're banning or preventing people having access to a product that is a much safer alternative to smoking, you're effectively protecting the cigarette trade. What are you doing? You're protecting the cigarette trade from competition, from a disruptive new technology. It's the worst possible thing you can do. So if you're a government, and you're prohibiting e-cigarettes, you really need to think again. See the opportunity, not the threat.
Hi, my name's Louise Ross and I'm the manager of the Leicester City Stop Smoking Service for Leicester City Council. We've been e-cig friendly for over 2 years now, and what we've seen is a huge rise in the number of people who are actually interested in using e-cigarettes for helping them to stop smoking or to switch to a different product. Some people will use e-cigarettes combined with nicotine replacement therapy, and some people will just use e-cigarettes on their own. Some people will maybe start with nicotine replacement therapy and then move on to e-cigarettes. We find all sorts of different ways that people use the product, but what we see overall is a real enthusiasm for using this very different nicotine delivery device, and people say that they were expecting it to be a really hard thing to do to stop smoking, and somebody said to us, I was waiting for this really hard part of it to start, and I thought, well, it hasn't happened. It's made it so easy, so we're delighted. And in fact, one of my advisors said recently that all her e-cig clients are turning into stop smoking advisors because they're going on and telling all their smoking friends about how they could actually switch to a different product too.
I think actually e-cigarettes need no formal regulation. It is really important that these e-cigarettes and other devices are available to everyone who needs or wants them. These are an absolute revolution in terms of harm reduction. We now know from overwhelming evidence that they are 95% safer than cigarettes. The thing that is the problem with cigarettes is tobacco and the hot smoke. It is not the nicotine. Nicotine has very small number of problems, so small that they need not to be regulated. Obviously, there needs to be the normal regulation that food or drinks have to prevent bogus e-cigarettes coming onto the market, as we've seen in traditional cigarettes. It's really important that these are available. They are to me the biggest public health intervention in my lifetime. These stop people getting some of the smoking can cause some of the most 4 of the top 10, no, the top 3 of the diseases most common in the world today: coronary heart disease, chronic obstructive airways disease, and these do not cause that. It is the tobacco and the smoke that cause those conditions. So this is, for me, a revolution, and they should be available without regulation that is on drugs and alcohol and normal cigarettes. Thank you.
What is good regulation for e-cigarettes? Well, in my opinion, good regulation for e-cigarettes sets a level playing field for all companies to meet. It's transparent and accountable, ensures that consumers are able to get at a fair price products which are safe and effective, and that it's monitored over time so that it can continue to evolve, to continue to provide consumers what they need.
Our review of the evidence last year showed that concerns about e-cigarettes have not been borne out. So smoking prevalence has continued to decline among adults, and also youth smoking prevalence has continued to go down. So far e-cigarettes are certainly not renormalising smoking, and nor are they acting as a gateway to smoking for young people.
Most of our new line of research is focusing on the concept of harm reversal. This concept is very interesting because it'll be very difficult to show long-term damage in a very short period of time. So the only chance we have to try and raise the evidence in support of harm reduction in the short term is just to use people with the pre-existing disease and try and show that they are reversal in their disease outcomes. For example, in hypertensive smokers who have switched to electronic cigarettes, we were able to show not only an improvement in systolic and diastolic blood pressure, but also in their overall blood pressure control. Another example, in asthma, we were able to show improvement in subjective and objective asthma outcomes.
So at the moment in New Zealand we don't have any specific regulation covering electronic cigarettes. Electronic cigarettes and e-liquid are being captured by our existing Smoke-Free Environments Act and the Medicines Act. So because no nicotine e-liquid has been put through the MedSafe process for registration as a medicine, we don't have any e-liquids available for therapeutic use. Under the Smoke-Free Environments Act in New Zealand, nicotine that is not registered under MedSafe as a medicine is illegal to import for sale and distribution. So at the moment, New Zealanders cannot legally buy nicotine e-liquid. This is having the effect of, well, there is a black market in nicotine e-liquid. People are importing, they're allowed to import for personal use, and they are importing base liquids and mixing their own. Some people are mixing and selling. So the vapers in New Zealand are arguing that they want regulation. They're concerned about e-liquids being made in a bathtub in somebody's house, and the hygiene issues. So they want to know that that people are being able to buy a safe and clean, hygienic product. So the vapers want regulation. The people who are against anti-cigarettes want regulation, primarily to, as much as possible, ban electronic cigarette products, vaping products, and vaping itself. So there's a wide, diverse views on this. My particular view is I don't think that we need regulation, primarily because it will cost quite a lot of time and money to do the public consultation and have the regulations written and debated and get that passed by Parliament. You know, that's a lot of money and time, and we have really other big, damaging, harmful health issues that we should be spending that money on first. Addressing obesity and violence in the community, many other public health issues that actually are harming people. Whereas vaping, being 95% safer than smoking tobacco, is having minimal level of harm. It's not even obvious what harms will result as yet. So at the moment we're stuck in a position where we can't get nicotine for sale in New Zealand legally. Something needs to be done, but there's no consensus. I'm afraid that if we go down the route of regulating, we will end up with something savagely restrictive that will basically prevent people from switching, make it harder for lower socioeconomic, poor people, marginalised groups to switch from smoking to vaping. And in some ways the situation we have at the moment is best. We shouldn't forge ahead with regulation until people understand this issue more and they understand about the new vaping phenomenon, the products, and they look very carefully at the unintended effects of overly restricting vaping while you allow the harmful product that kills half of its users to still be freely available on every corner shop and cheap, even though we have very high taxes. So at the moment the black market it's not great, but people are able to access it, but it is making criminals of smokers, and that's not okay either. So something has to be done, but what?
So I started not blowing smoke when I learned that the California Department of Public Health was going to put out this massive smear campaign against vapor products and e-cigarettes that they were spending $7 million of taxpayer money on. And I found a website which was called stillblowingsmoke.org. I saw the content, I saw what they were planning, and I had to make a split-second decision. I noticed that they didn't have any of their social media accounts. I noticed that notblowingsmoke.org was available as a domain. And since I'm originally a tech guy and have done something like this several times before, I decided, you know what, I'm going to buy the domain, I'm going to spend $12, I'm going to spend 38 hours making sure there's a website that contains factual, honest, and truthful information. We launched 2 days later, exactly at the same time, within an hour of each other, and it has changed my life.
Y hasta aquí ha llegado el GFN. Y ahora es cuando entráis vosotros en juego, ahora es cuando os hago esa petición, que no es la primera vez que me oís decir. Compartid el vídeo, difundidlo. Ya veis que aquí, bueno, pues ha salido un material estupendo, ha habido frases memorables. En fin, por mi parte, tremendamente satisfecho con el trabajo. Ahora a ver si este vídeo sube, llega a todas partes, lo ve todo el mundo y cierra muchas bocas. Yo por ahora me despido y me vuelvo para España. Un placer, feliz vapeo y hasta la próxima.